I was a first-time nonviolent offender that was sentenced to life without parole. It was May the 2nd of 1997 when I arrived. Walking into that first prison and seeing nothing but concrete, steel, and razor wire was a shock. It was a big shock. I thought about all those miles that I was away from my family, and I wondered how in the world I'm going to be able to see my children. When we arrived, we were then all stripped. They had to take their hands through our hair, behind our ears, look down our throat. I felt totally degraded. They put me in a room that had 2 other women, a very small cell with a toilet. I was told that I would not leave prison alive. I didn't know until after I was convicted that a life sentence was even on the table. The same sentence that Charles Manson, a convicted serial killer, received. The day that I was sentenced, the courtroom seemed surreal. My father, who is usually a very strong man, I could hear him sobbing in the back of the courtroom.
I still remember that day. It just tore the family apart.
I know it still hurts me to this day.
I lost both of my parents while I was in prison. When you have a life sentence, you can't attend the funeral. It was really hard to find closure with that, and being alone and not being able to grieve with my family, I think that was probably some of the hardest moments I've ever experienced. I missed the birth of all of my grandchildren, all 6 of them. I missed graduations, weddings. I can't get that time back. I can't tell you what it felt like to be alone in a place like that and just get the news over the phone. Given the distance from my family, they were not able to visit me often. I used all of my minutes due to an emergency. I would have to wait weeks, maybe 3 weeks with no contact over the phone. There should never be a time when a woman loses contact with her children. It was at that point that I decided to fight.
When I arrived in prison, there was no internet. And while the world became more empowered with the access to information, we were limited with little to no access or training. I've always known the importance of education, to put yourself in a position of power. How do you tell a woman, don't prepare yourself for a future?
But you didn't let that stop you.
No. Technology allowed my face and my voice to get out before my body was ever set free. From inside the prison, I started to speak at several universities, from Yale to the University of Washington. I spoke about the Clemency Project and being a first-time nonviolent drug offender sentenced to life without the option of parole. It was through a YouTube event that Mike.com heard my story. I'm going to be honest with you. I knew that no one at that prison would allow me to do that interview. But I also knew I had to do it. What if this was my last chance to be free? The morning of my interview, a few of my friends helped me distract my guard. The video would instantly go viral.
This October 31st will mark my 21st year of confinement.
And I went to the SHU, solitary confinement, for the video. My experience in the SHU was horrible. You'd be by yourself and locked down. You are locked down in the SHU for 23 hours of the day, and you get 1 hour to go to the caged recreation area. But I couldn't stop fighting. I never stopped hoping that one day I was going to be returned to my family. If you don't see my face and realize my story, you will never understand that there are other people just like me who have been left behind. You see, when you see a face, you see another human being. That's what changes things. I think that my voice was the only voice that was able to escape, and now you see my face. For 21 years, concrete, razor wire, and steel was my life. For 21 years, I never stopped fighting. Today, I continue to fight for the women who have been left behind, whose faces people do not see.